guys understand my affinity and the inspiration I've taken from Lupe Fiasco over the course of his career. Anybody who's been following my work longer than this channel, you guys understand how long I've been covering Lupe Fiasco. Whether or not it was popular to do so, and I'll continue to do that because I truly believe that Lupe Fiasco is one of the most impactful artists and set the blueprint for a lot of opportunities for these other guys, especially at a point in time in the music industry when lyricism was shunned, especially deep, multi-layered lyricism. You know, so, I don't look at people as being the totality of their latest headline. I think I look at what people have offered more so than what people necessarily say a lot of times. And I feel like more than anything else, Lupe Fiasco is an example of how to rise in a situation where industry is really stacked against you. And I also think he's an artist that really lives up to the words he raps about. I mean, his first album was called Food and Liquor, that dichotomy in Chicago, and so I think it's really, really, really impressive the amount of success he's been able to have, especially considering how he had major label conflict. He went to war with Atlantic Records over 360 deals. He basically sat down for 3 years, if I'm not mistaken, between the cool.
While I was doing that segment with the bass guitar, it's over there just now, I didn't know there was this big metal thing on my shoe, or I never really thought about it, but I kind of rolled in a way where it went into my foot. Kind of hurt like a motherfucker. Hey, it's Bird's Rose Socks. Fit check.
Awarded the Chicago Rhyme with 10 new platinum and gold certifications. 2010, The Show Goes On is now officially 7 times platinum, making for his best-selling records to date. 1 second applause. 7 times platinum. That was on Lasers. That was the album that everybody hated on. Lupe fans hated on that album so much. And that album itself, to me, is an example of
got those in Pipestone,
the ultimate compromise album.
Minnesota.
Right, because Lupe had this idea for Lasers. Now, as lore goes, if it's true, he wanted to do sort of a post-punk, apocalyptic type album that was connected to his work with Japanese Cartoon, which was like a punk side project he was doing at that point in time. So there's rumors that album, he wanted that album to be more like that, let's say. And which I tend to think is more stuff that's like, hello, goodbye, I guess. That was the conversation around that project, right? And so Lupe didn't want to do that. They also wanted him in a 360 deal.
Pretend this microphone is plugged in and that I'm actually talking into it because my computer is acting too, my laptop is acting too. I will destroy the fucking world. I think I just found my intro. God spoke a hearing straight into my brain. Goddamn, did you mean to do that to me? Well, Jesus, don't come round unless we pray each day for 500 days. And I don't know what you want anymore. I don't know what you want anymore. To make it seem like we never really needed it anyway. Yeah, we never really needed it anyway. So we could see that the bottom's gonna bury us anyway. Oh, I'm doing what I gotta to stay awake. Yeah, I'm doing what I gotta to stay awake. Okay. What happens when I don't know what happens? What happens when I don't know what stop and go till you can't go. Not anymore. Stop and go till you can't go. Make it seem like we never really needed it anyway. No, we never really needed it anyway. And we could see that the bottom's gonna bury us anyway. Yeah, I'm doing what I gotta to stay awake. Yeah, I'm doing what I gotta to stay awake. Okay. I hate you. Ooh, cinematic. I like that. Cinematic. This video is kind of all over the place, and whenever I make videos that aren't like dominantly ranting or like verbal, I feel like there's an odd like lopsidedness to it. Like I know the straight spoken bits connect with my audience the most, and that all of the extra stuff connects in like slant ways that are hard for people. Like that was me trying not to throw the microphone in rage because it's not the microphone's fault at all. So I instead insisted I would destroy the world. Let's talk about rage. Anything that's not obvious is not going to be like interpreted usually. I don't know why. It's interesting to me because I do analysis and a lot of my audience connects with it on the level of like I also like analyzing things, but I feel it's very rare that people attempt to analyze my work. And I mean, a lot of the comments are kind of analyzing it. Usually they're more focused on analyzing me. Oh, I fucking left the camera recording. I didn't mean to do that. But that was a cool little walking into the room, totally fucking having no idea I was about to be filming myself. In the last week or so since moving into this house, I may have had the most personal space that I've ever had in my entire life. And that didn't occur to me until today, that I had given myself so little personal space throughout my life. I was afraid of myself, so I was afraid to be alone with myself. I don't know what I might do to myself if I'm all alone for too long. It's the way that I used to think. So I didn't want to be alone for too long. And too long means like a day. So I lived with my parents until I was 25 years old. For some people, that's not very strange. In America, it's not very common until more recent years. I'm 34 this year, so this was 9 years ago. Or the statement by way of it coming from me. But, like, and that's fine. I guess what I'm trying to say is that people don't read as much into, like, the format, or, like, I was terrified to move out of my parents' place because I didn't understand anything logistically about how life works. I didn't know how to get my own place. I didn't know, like, what is a normal amount of money to spend on having a place or a car or any other aspect of life. Hard work is the only ethic I grew up with at all. And I think it shows in my channel, the ridiculous upload frequency I've always had. You know, I don't understand much besides work because I wasn't shown much of anything else. You know, my parents both worked for a lot of my upbringing, and they took a lot of pride in it, you know, and doing it well. That, like, my mom was always somebody who managed stores and cared a lot about the store, way beyond her pay grade. She was always caring way more than how much she's getting paid to care. My dad, on the other hand, was not going to care if it wasn't tremendously, you know, going to make him a lot of money. But it's not an easy industry to be a part of. And, you know, he went through lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of mania as a result of that job. So I grew up with lots and lots of mania happening around me as well. I only do mania for YouTube. I'm a shut down person. I see all the mania and I pretend it's not happening, and I go into myself and I just drift away. And that's how I spent most of my childhood, was just drifting away, not really engaging with anything, except for the couple of things that, like, really drew my interest as a kid. So when I talk about stuff like, I was super into Power Rangers, Beast Wars, Pokemon, that's all I was into. Like, there was nothing else in my life. There was no other, I had some, like, kind of friends early on. Really, it wasn't until elementary school, like second, third grade, that I, like, had a couple of friends I really cared about, but they didn't care about me nearly as much as I cared about them. So that was the case for all the friends I had up until high school. So, you know, I really just had, like, my obsessions with these pieces of media and a lot of rage. I had a lot of anger at feeling like I was being ignored all the time and just never listened to, whether it's by my parents, whether it's by other people, because it was so rare that I found the opportunity to speak up. And then when I did, people aren't paying attention. They're not listening. They're not giving me worthwhile feedback, or they're interrupting, or they're talking about their own shit that has nothing to do with what I'm talking about, or, you know, they just don't care about the things I'm talking about, but expect me to care about the things they care about. And, like, all that drove me nuts my whole childhood. So I became a very angry person. But I turned all of that anger inward. I never snapped, never had any manic episodes, never threatened, well, in jokey ways I've threatened some people, but mostly people I was friends with, you know, like, I've never hit anybody, I've never been in any altercations, I've never had, like, just never had, like, even a really emotional fight until I was an adult. You know, like, I couldn't let anything out. I couldn't cry from when I was, like...
Any other bass players in the house tonight?
14 until 28. I cried, like, less than 10 times, period. And I could remember each of them. They were all from anime, and I could, like, count the number of tears of each one. I have a list. Because I was
frontal lobe massage, actually.
All of my emotions.
This feels really
down.
interesting on my brain.
Anytime they started to pick up, and I would just swallow them and eat that stress and let it corrode at me. That's why I've got so much gray hair at 34. Because I just sat there eating my rage and stress. Eating myself with rage and stress. And, you know, I turned a lot to addiction. I've always turned to addiction. I'm currently holding a vape. Like, this is, I'm not hitting it, I'm just holding it. Anybody who's an addict understands this behavior. It started with porn addiction when I was, like, you know, too young.
Can't make it stop.
Then it was, and sugar, porn and sugar, you know. And then, and caffeine, porn, sugar, caffeine. And then I got addicted to food, you know, like in my late teens. And then I started trying to fight some of those addictions. You know, I stopped drinking soda, so I cut sugar. I cut out drinking sugars in my early 20s.
Played the way I
And then, because I thought I was going to die. I was like, I'm going to get diabetes. I used to drink sweetened condensed milk straight. You know, like, I was way addicted to sugar. I would collect, like, handfuls of sugar packets from the McDonald's and stuff them in my jacket and then rip them open and drink them all day. I know some of you do this. I've met y'all. So I had serious sugar addiction, serious porn addiction for a long.
Don't want it.
You know, my last relationship, I had a sex addiction.
Get up on it.
And
you bite the hand that feeds you.
Singing it and doing it at the same time is really hard.
I'm trying to think of anything else. I don't think I've ever had, like, a full-blown gaming addiction because there's never been a game that I could get that addicted to. Phantasy Star Online, I probably could, but I would have to do it with friends. It has to be a social addiction. And of course, marijuana. I didn't even get to that yet. The biggest one of all. By far the biggest money spender. By far the one that I've spent the most time with. I'm probably addicted to alcohol too, but I've always kept that pretty, like, managed because I know alcoholics and I know how bad it is to be an out-of-control alcoholic. Like,
where there could be, like, double meanings and stuff. Not that there's a ton of that intentfully in my videos or anything like that, but there is usually, there's almost always something I did that doesn't get mentioned by anybody. Not that I don't think anyone notices, because I do think there's people who notice and just don't say anything, which is pretty normal. And especially if you just assume everybody would notice, you know, like if you just see it and you're like, oh yeah, well that's obviously the point. But to so many people, it's not obviously the point that I won't be convinced anybody got the point if somebody doesn't explicitly say it. Like if somebody doesn't raise their hand and go, oh, I caught that you did this, you know.
I've been addicted to cigarettes at various points. I don't know how this became me listing everything I've ever been addicted to. I guess that's the therapy we're in right now. But that's how I deal with the rage. The rage bubbles up and then pour other shit in, you know? But you know it's a way better way of dealing with the rage? Let it out. And
well, I'm fine, I am fine, I am fine, I am fine, I just need $100. I am fine, I am fine, I am fine, I am fine, I just need $100.
about like outlets for anger, right? Like a lot of people, that's their excuse for why violent video gaming is good, is that it's like a release valve for anger. That's not really true though. And you know it, because it's not always a release valve. Sometimes it just makes you angrier. Depends on how you're using it. It can be a release valve. Like I can play a game like Caravan Sandwich, and I would probably feel like overall soothed, like it was just letting stress out of me. But I'm talking more about energetic bursts of psychopathic fury. Now, if you're a fan of Swedish progressive metal, I might be about to make your night. The Human Equation by Arion. Fuck. So fucking good, right? One of my favorite albums as a teen. And it's still, I wouldn't say it like holds up musically all the way through. It didn't need to be like however long it is. It's long. But the story is great. And the way the story is told is great. And I've kind of been obsessed with it. Because what happens in The Human Equation is that a guy goes into a coma and then meets his emotions, each one personified as like a full-fledged figure. And each of his emotions starts singing to him, guiding him through his memories, trying to figure out, why am I in this coma and can I get out? Well, first you have to figure out that he's in a coma. Like, he doesn't even know that at first. He just wakes up and he's in a world of emotions and he's like, what the fuck is going on, you know? And so they all start trying to parse it together. And the emotions, maybe emotions is they're called emotions in the context of the album, but like what they are logic, passion, pride, fear, rage, lust, and love, I think. Maybe lust is passion is the same thing. So, no, it's passion, love, fear, rage, and trying to find a way that you can use your rage that is like beneficial. Anybody who has anger issues, you've been through this. You have to figure out, where am I going to put this that isn't punching a hole in the wall, punching a hole in my partner's face, punching a hole through my own face, you know, like, how do I not punch a hole in anything other than like self-doubt and my enemies? No, not anger. It's because there's rage is anger. There's also pain. That's the one I'm looking for. Pain, fear, rage, logic, pride, passion, love. I believe those are all the emotions that the main character meets inside their own mind. And then outside of their mind, there is their best friend and wife, who were basically having an affair, and he found out. That's how he ended up in the coma. Spoiler alert. They are also like watching at the bedside and like speculating and speaking to him through the dreams and memories. You know, at one point his dad comes in and he's a piece of shit, and he's just like gloating about how he's such a piece of shit, basically. That was the song that I first heard that got me into the album, Father, which has a strapping young lad feature playing Rage. And the dad. But you could just like mute the audio of those segments, I guess, or like pause and just read the text and then skip over the audio. But like the songs were also part of the point. You know, like the songs and their lyrics, which are uniquely easy to be understood in that video, like compared to how it is just listening to the songs by themselves. Like the fact that you can make out what I'm saying is a part of that. And it's not just like randomly, here's some songs of mine. It was specifically a live set I recorded because I was practicing what would I do for a live set. And so those songs are very specifically chosen from my discography as like the songs I want to do live, not only because they would sound good live and that I'm good at performing them, but that they are the most indicative of who I am and how I see myself now. They're the songs that best describe holistically me now. That's why they're the songs the songs I want to perform in front of an audience, the songs that will tell them exactly who I am, you know? And some of it is also in there for the fans, you know, like there's the Fat and Dangerous transition segment, you know, where it's like, I'm going to bring Digibro back out and we're going to do the Fat and Dangerous because it's just such a good song. It feels wrong to not do it live, you know, even if I'm not Fat and Dangerous, but like creating a narrative reason for it. And it's you know, I had filmed that set well before the rest of the video. So it's not like I recorded that intending for it to eventually be part of this other narrative. But that footage was just sitting on my computer for ages. I had no idea what to do with it. And then when I edited the video around the live footage and then, you know, like listened to what I'm saying and then wrote these segments and like the whole piece holistically has a lot going on in it. You know, it's long and it's dense, but it's not hyper dense. It's not Kendrick Lamar dense. You know, I'm not nearly on that level of characterizing 9 sides of myself. That video I made definitely took some influence from this album. Just the idea of like putting each of these sides of me into a bespoke form, but I wanted something a little bit more complicated and nuanced, you know, because it's about myself and not like a product being made to explain something very broad to an audience through metaphors. But like the idea of like communicating with these fractured parts of yourself to try to reform into something whole, that resonates with me a lot. It's like if you just give it a little bit of thought, you know, you'll parse together bits and pieces, you know, like in this video, I sing I Miss the Rage by Mario Judah. I think it's pretty obvious why that one's chosen, you know? And then there's moments where I'm trying to trying to get this video started and then just getting angry, you know? So like I hope everybody understands like all those moments where like where I just like get mad and stop. That's the joke, you know? Each of those emotions is important. You know, like none of them can be shut out for him to make it out of the coma. And in the end, it kind of takes him basically convincing each of the other emotions to let him out. You know, like convincing fear, convincing pain. Rage just kind of howls in the end with, you know, like I'm alive, rah, and I won't look back is the last lyrics. Like that's the thing, that's the gimmick, that's the video. So like I hope those things get noticed, or that people are looking at the very least to find detail in my work, because I'm often told by people that they want me to make things that are more elaborate, you know, more deep, more in depth, and I'm like, when I do that, I don't feel like the effort pays off, that like it makes the product more beloved and more popular, because plenty of times it hasn't worked out that way. And I really think that making something popular really comes down to marketing. Making something beloved comes down to presentation, which is 2 different things. You have to have all of it. And if anything is feeling left behind or locked away, you're always going to feel like you're not all the way present, like something's holding you back. There's a new video from Yara Zaid talking about this, the Better Man movie. It's like a biopic done where the main character, instead of being who he really is a CGI monkey. And it's done really well, and it seems really interesting. But I guess there's a scene where he's having this dream where a part of him is like locked under the ice, and you don't see the character escape from that. And Yara describes this in a way that she's obviously talking about herself, that something is locked under the ice, you know? And I get that. I feel like sometimes you take something and you lock it away, and maybe you let it out here and there, but like sometimes you're keeping something in a cage, you know, and treating it like a caged animal that you only let out occasionally and maybe never, you know, or you're just torturing it, abusing it. You can be mean to your own rage, you know, you can be in pain or in rage at your own pain, or in pain at your own rage. You could be afraid of your rage and your pain. You know, you can be in pain at your fears. You get it. You get it. You get it. You get the point I'm making. Presentation is my thumbnail and title. Marketing is when I post the video on Blue Sky, and when I post it in my Discord, and when I post it in a community post. And I write like extra stuff, you know? And there is an aspect of presentation that goes into marketing. You know, you are doing a marketing presentation. But there's also artistry in presentation, and marketing is like, it's the art of doing the same thing every time. Like, marketing always works the same way. It's always just about getting the most people to pay attention possible. So there are like specific tricks and tactics that will always work in marketing terms. But that doesn't mean they'll always work artistically for what you're trying to do. So if I make something that has great presentation and no marketing, then nobody's going to see it to care about it. But if it has great marketing and kind of a shit presentation, everybody's going to see it and they're not going to be impressed. So ideally, you have a great presentation and great marketing, and all of it flows into each other and it just works. If you want all of it to flow, you have to have a place for it. And I think that in this world, there are certain people who have so much presence and feel such a, like, they feel so compelled to maintain their presence that they won't let anyone stop it. They will not let the train of presence stop. If someone tries to halt them, they immediately push back. I admire those people more than anybody. I see a lot of that in Dochi. I see in Dochi somebody who will literally just flip her shit on you in a second. Like, if she feels like the situation, I saw this, on New Year's, she had this live stream where it was like they're chilling in this room, her and a bunch of other people, and like they're vibing to the music. And at one point, something snaps in her head, and she just like freaks out about the music. She's like, "Stop the music! Can't be this! Like, next song, dude!" Like, and like nobody hears her at first, so she like ramps up and like yells, like, "We gotta change the music," And everybody's kind of like, "Whoa, okay, all right," like, and they kind of, try to not like react too much because they're all having a good time, and she pumps it back up, and like, "Yeah, all right," like getting the energy back to the way it's supposed to be. But the fact that her energy was waning, so she like had to immediately do everything in her power to make the energy come back on. What I'm trying to do with these videos, I'm trying to get it so that it's not something that's made for everybody. It's very obviously not made for everybody. But that doesn't mean that it's like so dirty or grungy or repulsive or hard to understand that the people who actually it is for are going to struggle with it. It should be a fun, easy, enjoyable time for the people it's for. And I think for a lot of my career, I had a hard time identifying who the fuck is this for? Because my idea was that it's for whoever wants it, Well, okay, that's fine and all, but do I want whoever wants it, I just assumed that if anybody thought at all like me, they must think a lot like me. Turns out that is not true. Not a lot of people think a lot like me. I don't even know if anybody is like 50% of the way thinking just like me, but there's maybe a few candidates. A lot of places in society, those types of people are not allowed to thrive. It takes a certain amount of trust in that person and their vision to tolerate that from somebody. Dochi gets that tolerance because she's unfucking believably talented, and she won't take no for an answer. So, or she'll leave, she obviously, she will take no for an answer, but she'll go to someone else and get until she gets a yes. I feel like throughout my life, there's been different parts of me that I lock away for different reasons. And some of it is fear from myself, like I don't want this to come out. Some of it is I'm worried that someone else will react to this. You know, I'm worried about how this is going to be perceived, or what if someone sees me doing this, you know, like that odd, like nebulous fear of like, oh, I'm just going to be being myself and someone's going to come shame me, you know? Someone's going to materialize out of the ether and to come shame me. So to me, space doesn't just mean literally how much room do I have to move around, to be loud, or it's how much allowance do I have to be myself? How much trouble will I get in if I'm being myself in this particular way, in this particular place? And I feel like I've been in lots of circumstances where I didn't know how to navigate being myself in that space without causing problems. And like the amount that other people would have to change to accommodate me for me to be able to be myself in most situations is just more than I am even willing to ask. You know, like it's better for me to just have space and not have to worry about how I'm going to navigate that with anybody. How are we going to, you know, break it down? And granted, like right now, I've got more space than I'm going to have because Shade and his partner are going to move into that room. So I'm not going to be doing this at fucking 2 a.m. You know, I'm going to be on a normal sleep schedule, which is fine. I want that anyways. But I want to illustrate to you why this isn't going to be something you see a whole ton of for the rest of the future. Like the wandering the house that doesn't have anything in it, you know, speaking loudly at night. Honestly, I'm being a little loud even for birds asleep directly above me, but he'll sleep through this. You know? So I tend to target things, and I especially target things that don't really matter that much, but like in a deeper way, they're indicative of something that is a big problem, right? So, let me introduce you to the subject of today's video. The same subject as my last 2 videos. This is the plot twist. This is another comment response video. And it's also to Roy Thomas. Roy Thomas. Remember this name. I know it's hard. It's kind of you can remember him as Roy G. Biv if you need to. Roy Thomas G. Biv. Roy Thomas, you are a real person, and I don't know if that's your real name, but I'm going to reduce you, for the sake of my content, to a concept of a person. You are no longer real. In the context of this universe, you can be real somewhere else, but in this universe, you're not real anymore. You might leave comments, it'll be really surreal for the audience, because they'll be like, what the fuck? You're not real. You are a concept Trixie made up to make points in videos about like a generic example of a stupid douchebag, which we're gonna get into now. I really like this, the way this pose looks from where I'm standing on camera. It reminds me of something the Sparks would do. I only know a couple of their songs. I know Fuck Around, that song rules. No, it's Dick Around, not Fuck Around. All I do now is dick around. All I do now is dick around, dick around. Oh, by the way, this is going to be Shade's room. This is probably the only time I'll really, like, use it for anything. So, you know, leave that alone. Oh, I feel like I should bring this up for you deep lore people. Victor built this. Victor just built this out of wood he, like, bought or found. Just, like, built a bed frame. It's fucking sturdy as shit. I've been walking all over it. Everybody walks all over it. Bird was walking through the middle of it. Like, he didn't give a fuck. He was just like, yeah, I'm confident. I'm like, damn. Victor built the shit out of this bed frame.
Republicans and corporations don't even feel like they need to fake caring anymore. Like, that's a scary thought overall. Yeah. However, it maybe allows us to reset the board, because now when lawsuits start up again, because for the last 20 years, when a lawsuit started happening, Motherfuckers were like, well, look at this. Look at our DEI. Look at our DEI statement. We are committed to diversity, equity, inclusion here at Coca-Cola, Starbucks, Chrysler, wherever. We committed to it. It says it all right here in the paper. They ain't even got that paper no more. So now, it'll probably end up being just some Overton window cycle shit, but at least there's a space now where when people start scrapping about these things again, because it will happen, maybe we'll have learned from previously to make demands as you're talking.
Yeah, and that's what I want people to take from this. Organization is the answer. For actually, the snowball has been rolling. Maybe I probably just hear about a little bit more about unions just because I'm in the Midwest. So there has been more and more people unionizing in different types of jobs. So this might be the thing that really kicks it off.
I feel almost lucky that Roy Thomas revealed to me exactly the way in which they are such a sniveling fuck. Not through anything they said, but simply through the method they chose by which to say it. And this is something that, I don't know why I keep saying some of you are going to understand this and some of you are really going to be learning for the first time. Yeah, that's always the case, but I feel the need to emphasize it sometimes when it's like something I know some of you really won't get. Like some of you are super going to immediately know what I'm talking about and some of you will super not get this. Like, how is this a thing? But I'll start by explaining the logic. Something I really can't stand, maybe my biggest enemy, is people who try to bigify themselves by way of associating themselves with people and concepts that they really have no place associating themselves with. The worst offender of this is Vito. Vito from The Dick Show / Biggest Problem in the Universe. And I've had some intense arguments with him last year. You can watch those lives if you want to see this in action. But he has this tendency to refer to himself as though he speaks for or is spoken for by all of liberalism, despite being the worst liberal ever. Just the absolute least of a person with the mentality of a liberal that has ever existed who thinks that they are one and keeps insisting they are one to the point that you think it's a joke, but then you realize he's really emotionally invested in the idea of himself as a liberal, but he's so bad at it that it's catastrophic. And so he talks in this way where he acts like everything he says is obvious because of how many people agree with it, because of how many people think just like him. When in reality, nobody thinks like Vito. And anybody who knows about Vito knows this. Nobody thinks like Vito. He's a very singular, very unique person. It's why Dick has an entire show dedicated to bullying him. I mean, they have an entire show together where Dick bullies him, whatever. Now that there's a contract involved. This Roy Thomas guy, the example in his case is he wants to pitch himself as a member of the learned anime community, people who care about history and facts and getting things right, because he's got this big contention with me having gotten things wrong about Gundam in this video, right? But the way that he approached this was not to even leave a comment directly on the video, but instead to respond to my response to Mercury Falcon's comment. And then he did that 2 more times on the community post and on the video that was actually addressed to him, addressed directly to him, the last video. And instead of leaving a comment on the video, he left a comment on Mercury Falcon's comment. Now, first, I'm going to break down for you how I felt about this before that video and that comment, and then I'll break down to you how the situation shifted dramatically. So, first of all, it is very rare for any YouTube viewer to actually read other viewers' comments, and it is way rare for those people to then respond to those conversations. When it happens, it is 9 times out of 10 because those 2 people know each other. And usually they share some kind of Discord server where one person brought up the conversation and the other person jumped into the comments. So, my first thought when I read this comment, that I perished immediately, because this is too schizo to be true, and I knew that right away. But it is true sometimes. Sometimes a person who has notoriety or clout and a name, a recognizable name, will have alternate accounts where they have generic names and no user, no image, in order to leave saltier comments, to be a little bit meaner, to pretend to be someone else. Now, the reason I perished this thought right away is I know who Mercury Falcon is. Mercury Falcon's a great YouTuber and doesn't seem like the type of weird little asshole that does this kind of thing, you know? So I ruled that one out right away. This is probably not a Mercury Falcon alt account, which means it's either one of Mercury Falcon's friends, someone who shares a Discord server with them, or an orbiter, somebody who wants to see themselves as Mercury Falcon's friend, or wants to see themselves as a part of Mercury Falcon's community. I do think there's probably a Discord server involved in here somewhere. I don't think Mercury Falcon's in it. I think someone saw this conversation and brought it elsewhere. And then this Roy Thomas person saw the conversation elsewhere and showed up to comment on it. Because this person is clearly not a fan of mine, which Mercury Falcon is a view. I don't know, fan's a strong word, but Mercury Falcon watches my content. We have a mutual respect that is established in this after this video that I'll explain. So this Roy Thomas person is a third party concerned about the situation, but clearly pitching themselves as on Team Falcon. They're like, I'm with this guy, you're an idiot, you're the problem. So it's a dog pile. It's a dog pile situation. They're looking at, oh, this person's calling you out, but you're not listening to them, so now I'm going to double down and help them call you out. They're trying to get it into a tag team. And a couple other people showed up to these threads as well that also are people I don't recognize that seemed like they came in. I literally heard people saying, I read comments from people saying like, oh, I heard people were mad at you in this video and stuff like that. There's conversation happening about the fact that I'm doing this comment response because of the fact that it's about me and Mercury Falcon, who, again, another good anime YouTuber, great anime YouTuber, I'll say. So here's where the pot of chili gets spicy, all right? Because I made the video directly addressing Roy Thomas, and then Mercury Falcon left a comment on that video that was almost apologetic, basically saying like, hey, not like taking back anything that he said, but saying, I didn't intend for other people to come attack you about this or make a big deal out of it. Like, I didn't send anybody. I had nothing to do with this getting to this level, And I responded kind of like, yeah, this honestly, it goes further back than this conversation. It's just stuff that that I'm just trying to set boundaries about. Like, basically stuff that bothers me that I'm like, well, hold on. Like, before you go and for the next 10 years leave comments about how I need to do more research, understand I'm actually an idiot. Like, I actually can't read research papers. They're over my head. Like, I actually am not educated. I'm a YouTuber, I'm very good at what I do, but what I do is what I do. It is not something else. It's not what somebody else does. You can go other places for that stuff. You should not bark up the wrong tree, as I kept saying to Roy Thomas. He's a barky little dog at the wrong fucking tree. And so when Mercury Falcon said, like, I didn't do this, I'm like, cool. And, and our dialogue was very kind, in the comments going back and forth. Then Roy Thomas showed up to that thread and said, your video, what was the phrase they used? Oh, it was such a I didn't think about how this phrase plays into my point. and now I'm forgetting what the exact words were, but it was a type of phrase that means like that other people wouldn't agree with this. Let me go look it up real quick. Okay, well, as you can see, Roy has deleted the comment after I pointed out that tethering your comment to Falcon's thread again is such a bitch-made piece of shit thing to do, considering what he said at the start of the thread. Because, you know, coming into a thread where somebody's like, oh, by the way, I'm not trying to cause a pile up on you, and then piling up in that thread, dick move. I guess he agreed because he removed the comment. It's the next day. This video hasn't come out yet, but Roy has been leaving lots of comments on the videos. This really, all Trixie has to do is apologize to Mercury Falcon, a guy who's not looking for an apology and who says he doesn't want people dogpiling on me. He wrote this 1 hour ago, meaning after having deleted the comment that I was just like upset that he deleted. That was last night. I just time skipped you. I think I'm imagining how I'm gonna edit this. I think I just time skipped you from me being upset that he had deleted his other comment to this one that is an even better indication of what I'm trying to say that just happened. Also, just to respond to this, the old guard of AnyTube, I told them to make their channels, nobody listened to me. And then he's like, you know, you need to log off. You sound like Sephiroth. And then this guy says, no, I need evidence here, which is not something he even brought up in this first comment. Said nothing about how he doesn't trust it. Then says, oh, now I need evidence. This shouldn't be too hard. Yeah, it literally happened. Since I know how much you love research, though, Roy, I'll just go ahead and actually...
Whenever I'm introducing myself to a new person, and they...
Alright, let's see. Let's scroll back, scroll back, scroll back, scroll back, scroll back. Scroll back, scroll back, scroll back, scroll back, scroll back, scroll back. Not a fan of the planet sound you... Shit, I fucked up my own lyrics. Not a fan of the planet of sound you landed on, better scroll back. Oh god, it's even farther back than this. Way, way, way back. Way, Jesus fucking Christ, why do I do this? Why have I made so many fucking YouTube videos? What was I thinking? Here we go, right around here. Dreams of a better anime industry. This video was an open letter to the old guard of anime, and I got responses from some of the people who I mention in this video, where they talk about how it's like a ton of work to do YouTube video. Like, I mean, if you don't understand how it's a ton of work, go read Illusion's comment on the video talking shit about you, Roy Thomas. That's your research assignment. Go read Illusion's comment that perfectly explains why I am not a research YouTube channel. Since you don't have, you're so far out of your depth, you can't even comprehend how stupid what you're asking is. Fuck it, I'll do it for you. I know you're not gonna do the research. Let's go ahead, for everyone else's sake, who needs to understand this, because I know Roy is not the only one, and I don't trust all of you to go do research. Am I on the right place? Yeah, here we go. Illusionic. Plastic is mostly made from oil, but some kinds of plastics are made of plants, like PLA from corn. Being pedantic about research and sources is the domain of academics. Doing YouTube from an academic perspective is so expensive that only corporately run channels, like Kurzgesagt, can make it a viable way to make money at all. Facts! But it had said something to the effect of, like, that your videos, like, vibe is bad. It was something like that. Like, that your take has, like, a bad... I can't remember the fucking phrase he used. Why'd you delete the comment, you son of a bitch? God damn it, Roy. This is not helping. This is not helping the case. I needed to be able to make fun of you accurately. Well, anyways, it was a call to authority. Everything he does is a call to the group, this idea that he is representing something bigger and therefore has more authority, or, you know, can call on, well, you know, there's an obvious, in his mind, an obvious, like, moral superiority to caring about facts, you know? And I understand why you might agree with that, but it's not a sound argument for why a YouTube video that is a like ranting review of a movie you just saw that you're making by your own admission just to justify having seen the movie. Like I say in the video, like, yeah, this movie, I didn't really like it, but at least I can make a video about it and talk about it, so I'll get something out of it, you know? And to like hear that and be like, this is gonna be a factual rundown of fucking Gundam history, like, I understand why Mercury Falcon was like, oh, I'm disappointed that you don't understand the history that well, so I'm gonna educate you. This other guy coming in, what was his motive? Like, what was his aim? There's no way that he sincerely thought he was going to bully me into studying harder or like apologizing. I literally don't know what the fuck this dude wanted other than to be in a dog pile. He saw an opportunity to be a vicious internet person and feel justified because he feels like, oh, this stupid asshole is, you know, like, is being wrong about Gundam publicly. How dare they? Let's all jump in, you know? And, like, I basically looked at that and went, you're a big dork, and my audience will hate you. Like, regardlessly whether Gundam fans would agree with you, my audience will hate you for having this attitude, because my whole brand is about not following the massive, you know, what everyone else is saying. Like, my whole fucking brand is actually the popular anime suck. That's my brand. Actually, thing you like, not good. Actually, thing you've never heard of, actually good. All that shit you like, forget about it. Check out all this shit you've never heard of that I like. Now you have good taste. That's my brand. And there's one thing I don't feel like I've really covered in this video, which is the actual space part. I said that I have the most, like, personal space I've ever had. And, like, it's not that I didn't understand the value of having space so much as that I don't know what I'm fighting to have space for. Like, if the goal is just have enough space to be yourself, I guess that's the goal. Have enough space to be yourself. But, like, I think I need to do a better job of creating space for myself. You know, that it's not about just happening to have enough space for yourself. But, like, how do I make room for me in this world? And I made a little bit of room for myself, and I feel like people wanted me to stay in that little bit of room, you know? And I realized that's kind of natural. Like, society, everybody wants their space, and if they feel like you're encroaching on their space, they want you out, you know? They're like, oh, wait, you're stay out of, don't talk about Gundam. This is my space. This is my room. I live in Gundam. You're not allowed to have Gundam. You're not allowed to be wrong about Gundam. Don't bring that in here. You know, I get it. I get that. But people will act like their space is being threatened when it's only conceptual space. Like, you don't have to ever hear me talk about Gundam if you don't want to. You don't have to ever interact with somebody who would have heard me talk about Gundam if you don't want to. I understand why you would be frustrated if maybe you found out that somebody had gotten wrong Gundam history from me. But you know what that gives you the opportunity to do? Give them the correct history and impress them and make a new friend. Holy fucking shit, you autistic motherfuckers. Now, I gotta be careful showing you the outside of my house too much, but you'll see that there is a garage. I don't know if you can really see it. There is a garage over there. That's where we used to film Cantant. And so I pretty much plan to turn that into like a rage cage of sorts. Like I plan to build something of a dance studio / recording studio. and do all of my music recording out there, do dancing out there, do a lot of this, I can do late night vlogging, but only out there, it won't be here in the house. So, that's how I'm going to have the space for my rage. And the main way I do get my rage out is usually music. It's usually either karaoke, like you saw in this video, or my original music, rapping, doing performances by myself. I've done lots of performing to myself throughout my life, thinking nobody wants to see this. I don't think that's true. I think people do want to see me perform. I just think that my performance isn't what I think it was. Well, it's taken a long time for me to find my voice. Let's put it that way. In the sense that I was ashamed of not performing the way that the people I admire do. Like if I see someone else doing something that I think, oh, that's so fucking cool. Like even let's say Ada Rook, right? Like Ada Rook's a perfect example of someone who her sound, her image, everything about it is like, oh, that's exactly what I want. Like that's what I want to be. But I'm not that. I don't like playing guitar. I don't like I don't really like sitting at a digital audio workstation. Like I have more fun beating on that bass than I would have like actually trying to create a song. You see how I'm tying everything in here at the end? Like, it's all coming together. The video's all making sense. All the disparate elements are somehow being pulled into one whole. The beauty of recording it all before you edit it all. But yeah, like I see someone like Ada Rook and I'm thinking like, how do I do like a version of that's mine? How do I communicate that level of cortisol addiction? That's my latest addiction I realized I might have. I've started hearing about it. People have been talking about how like, I knew the song Stress by Jim's Big Ego. I'm addicted to stress. It's the way that I get things done. If I'm not under pressure, that I sleep too long and I hang around like a bum and I think I'm going nowhere and that makes me nervous. Everybody had to give me, but I feel all right. That song, I didn't know it's a real thing, like actual addiction to stress and cortisol, that if you have enough stress in your life, it becomes an addiction and becomes something that's hard for you to get away from. And I do think I've done a fair amount of stress detoxing. I think I spend a lot of time actually stress detoxing. Like that's what my lifestyle is more about. Because I don't want to be so stressed that I'm angry about random shit or angry at people in my life, Like I don't want to be angry at my parents, and it's easy to not be angry with them when I don't live with them. The fuck is there to be angry about? They're over there. I don't care. I don't want to be angry at Bird, and I'm not. At present we're having a great fucking time living in this house. There are things that he could do that would make me angry. But like we also tend to, we play around, like that anger can come out. Like we're not like afraid to say things to one another. So if he says something that pisses me off, I'm going to let him know right away. And it's not going to simmer and sit and turn into like a whole thing. It's not going to turn into some petty fucking squabble we get into later because we have unresolved feelings. Nah, we work that shit out right then and there. Because or else I'm not going to let it pass. I'm not going to let the situation go until it's resolved. Because I hate the petty shit that old married couples get into. Even if I have the space for rage, though, there does always kind of have to be some kind of target. And it doesn't have to be a human target. It doesn't have to be a living target. There can be conceptual targets. A lot of my videos are born out of my anger towards a conceptual target, something I keep hearing people say. And so I get mad at the thing, not the people saying it, but the thing itself being said. And I try to attack the thing. Other times, though, I find it helps if you can pick out a person, because generally most people are okay. Like the vast majority of people, I'm totally fine with. I think this is the main reason I can move through the world so easily. And part of that is I don't really hold people to what they believe. I don't think people really understand their own beliefs. I hold people to what they do. What are your patterns of behavior? How do you act? What do you say? You know? And there's lots of people who are just speaking wrong. Like they're trying to communicate something reasonable and they're not capable of that. But if I can tell they're trying to be reasonable, then I'm like, this is a cool person. You know, this is fine. I don't mind this. Roy Thomas is not trying to be reasonable. Roy Thomas is trying to get one over on a popular YouTuber because of the fact that that YouTuber stepped into their realm of being a Gundam fan, I guess. And so when I see somebody like that, I think, oh, you would be like this in any context. You're not mistaken because you said something wrong. You're not mistaken because you don't know what you're doing. In fact, deleting that comment reveals even more so how you're basically admitting what I said was true. That, like, you were, in fact, trying to dogpile and bandwagon, and you probably hadn't read the Mercury Falcon comment all the way to realize why that would be a bad idea, you know? But, like, you got caught in the tactic, so you had to erase it so that your steps aren't visible to everybody else who, you know, you've been doing this tactic to, who's never pointed it out. So I see somebody like that, and I think, you are the problem. Like, and it's not that you couldn't change. You could change to not be the problem. But it's not like just a conceptual thing. It's a mentality thing. It's your whole way of operating. And I don't expect people to actually change unless they want to. And I don't think most people who are in a position like Roy Thomas want to change. I think they want to bully people on the internet. And so people like that, I feel like I have infinite carte blanche to just let my rage out on them. And today, the reason this video is not angry, like, I've been struggling all day with how am I going to make this video when I can't get the rage back to make the video. And that's why there's so many joking false starts to me getting angry in this video, is that I'm trying to, like, get back worked up. And it worked. Eventually I got, like, just enough to like get up and start making a video, you know. But it's because I got so much satisfaction out of making the first Roy Thomas response video where I'm screaming on the back porch. That felt amazing. And, all right, my phone's pretty much out of space, so this is the last part of the story. This morning, I woke up. I was out of weed. I knew I couldn't buy any until, like, midday. I knew I was going to be, like, you know, just kind of waiting around until that point, like, mentally, emotionally. You know, I hadn't had anything to, like, eat or anything. Like, it was the start of the day. I literally started recording at the start of the day. And I was, like, a little bit pumped, a little bit raged. But you'll notice halfway through that video, my laptop shuts off on me, losing the microphone audio. And I'd been holding the microphone the whole time. So I knew that, like, this was now just a prop and it was meaningless. That's why I started screaming. That's where the yelling came from. It was like I had gotten, like, into, like, a decent lather of rage. But the fact that my fucking laptop doesn't work anymore because one of the fucking the high-power GPU seems to have failed or disconnected or something. It got overheated and now the main GPU doesn't work. So I can't edit on this fucking thing. I have to use Bird's laptop. So I was pissed that the laptop shut off. That's why I got so much angrier at that last part of the video. And it felt awesome to express that. And it really made me feel like I gotta start making myself angry about dumb shit more often. Because, like, getting angry about, like, Elon Musk, I can't do anything about it. You know, like, I can encourage other people what they can do, but, like, I can't even legally encourage what should be done, you know? So, like, what do I fucking do about that? Meanwhile, I can do a lot about Roy Thomas. I can make a whole fucking meme. I can make a legacy out of Roy Thomas. I can turn that. I feel like this video needs some sort of resolution. It's a beautiful sunny day. I don't want to show you too much revealing information about where I live, but I'm in the backyard. You know, I ran out of footage on my phone trying to make my final point, but but I think you get it. Just wanted there to be a sense of resolution at the end of the video. I don't know why there's sirens and stuff. That makes it feel totally unresolved. That actually makes it feel like a chaotic new chapter where some other crazy shit's going on. This has nothing to do with the video. For real though, if you like this content, you know, pay it forward. You don't have to literally send me money or even comment on my videos. Take the lessons forward into your life. Live better. You'll make more money, and then you'll be able to give it to me. All right? That's the theory we're operating on in this channel. I want to fix you so you can fix me. We're all going to fix each other together, like one ecosystem. I just saw a video that starts off, it's about Kendrick Lamar's fan base and how far-reaching and powerful it is. The first line of the video was, a fan base is like an immune system. And I totally felt that. And I feel like I had like a faulty immune system for a time because I didn't treat my fan base like it is a part of my body. You know, I treated it like it was over there and I'm over here and we're interacting. But now I'm trying to treat you like you are literally a part of me. And so, if you're cancerous, you will be excised. Like Roy Thomas. Never forget the name Roy Thomas. If there's one thing you carry from this video, never forget who Roy Thomas is, what Roy Thomas stands for, and why you don't want to be like Roy Thomas. If you are Roy Thomas, consider changing your name.